grade 9 students, how are you today? Let's recall our previous lesson entitled Arts of the Neoclassic and Romantic Period. Neoclassicism and Romanticism were the movements after the Rococo period that flourished across Western Europe and the United States, which spanned approximately from the 18th and 19th century. The clarity purpose of this lesson objectives is for better and effective understanding. Different activities will be performed in this lesson. Viewing and listening of sample plays or opera are encouraged to promote appreciation of the culture and traditions of the Western countries. Before we start our lesson for today, my grade 9 students, do you want to have an activity first? We will call this activity Guess Me. I will flash a 1-minute video sample of different theater play or a movie theater, and after 5 seconds countdown, then that's the cue to answer what is the title. So, my grade 9 students, are you ready? Again, I can't hear you. Are you ready? Okay, number 1.
Come with me.
No. There is a secret that you don't know. There is a force here I never show. If you want the reason, I will show you now. Tap!
You got it. The correct answer is Miss Saigon. It is played by Miss Leia Salonga. Next, number 2.
Deny thy father and refuse thy name. Or, if thou wilt not, be but sworn my love, and I'll no longer be a Capulet.
Shall I hear more? Or shall I speak at this?
'Tis but thy name that is my enemy. Thou art thyself, though not a Montague. What's Montague? It is not hand, nor foot, nor arm, nor face, nor any other part belonging to a man. Oh, be some other name. What's in a name? That which we call a rose by any other word would smell as sweet. So Romeo would, were he not Romeo called, retain that dear perfection which he owes without that title. Romeo, doff thy name, and for thy name, which is no part of thee, take all myself.
Awesome! The answer is Romeo and Juliet, and it is originally written by William Shakespeare. And the number 3 video.
Don't you hear what they're testifying against you? Don't you know that I have the power to release you or to crucify you?
You would have no power over me unless it was given to you from above. For that reason, the ones who have delivered me to you, they have the greater sin.
Again, I have examined this man and find no fault in him.
This man is
blasphemes. You do have a custom at the Feast of Passover that I should release to you one prisoner. We will bring this matter before the people and let them decide what to do with this man. Now go!
go and leave this pretty sight. So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, adieu.
Adieu, adieu, to you and you and you.
So long, farewell, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.
I'd like to stay and taste my first champagne. Yes?
No.
So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye.
I leave and heave a sigh and say goodbye. I'm glad to go. I cannot tell a lie. I flit, I float, I fleetly flee, I fly.
The sun has gone to bed, and so must I. So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye, goodbye.
You got it. The title movie is Sound of Music, and the soundtrack of it is So Long and Farewell. And the last video,
Go! A deer, a female deer.
Ray,
A drop of golden sun.
me,
A name I call myself.
far,
A long, long way to run.
so, a needle pulling thread, la,
A note to follow. So, T,
a drink with jam and bread,
that will bring us back to dough.
a deer, a female deer, Ray, a drop of golden sun, me, a name I call myself, far, a long, long way to run, so, a needle pulling thread, la, a note to follow, so, tea, a drink with jam and bread,
That will bring us back to dough. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, so, do.
again for the number 5. The title of the movie is The Sound of Music, and its soundtrack entitled Do, Re, Mi. Now, grade 9 students, what have you observed upon our activity a while back? Yes, correct. It is all about theater play, musical play, or even this stage play done in a movie. And our today's lesson, it is all about the Western classical plays or opera and its history of the theatrical forms and their evolution. How theater began. Theater began from myth, ritual, and ceremony. Early society perceived connections between actions performed by groups of people or leaders to a certain society, and this moved from a habit to tradition, to ritual, and to ceremony, due to a human desire and need for entertainment. What theater means and to produce a theater. Theater means place of seeing, but it is more than the buildings where they place. And of course, to produce a theater, a playwright writes the script, the director rehearses the performance, the designer and technical crew produce props to create the scenes, and the actors and actresses performs on the stage. Then, it will only be true theater act when an audience witnesses it. Let's go now to the part when theater arts of the Western countries produced and performed in different periods. First is ancient theater. Under of it has two eras, the Greek and the Roman theater. We go to the Greek theater. It is begun around 700 BC with festivals honoring their gods. Dionysus, the god of wine and fertility. The three well-known Greek tragedy playwrights are Sophocles, Euripides, and Aeschylus. The theater of ancient Greece consisted of three types of drama: the tragedy, comedy, and the satyr play. Again, in ancient Greece, tragedy was the most admired type of play. It dealt with the tragic events and have an unhappy ending. Thespis was the first actor and introduced the use of masks and was called the father of tragedy. The actors, directors, and dramatists were all same person. After some time, only 3 actors were allowed to perform in each play due to limited number of actors allowed on stage. We have here the Greek theater, or it's called Epidaurus. Theater buildings were called Theatrical. The theaters were large, open-air structures constructed on the slopes of hills. They consisted of 3 main elements: the orchestra, the skin, and the audience. Next is the ancient Roman theater. The theater of ancient Rome started in the 3rd century BC. It had varied and interesting art forms like festivals, performances of the street theater, acrobatics, the staging of comedies of Plautus, and high verbally elaborate tragedies of Seneca. The usual themes of Roman theater plays were chariot races, gladiators, and public executions. The Romans loved a good spectacle. They loved to watch combat, admire blood sports, and gladiator competition. The more realistic the violence, the more it pleased Roman audiences. But the Christians, however, opposed the barbaric themes of the plays and closed down all the theaters. Here is one of the theater of the Roman period, the theater of Pompey. And the well-known theater or plays is the Colosseum, also in the part of Rome, Italy. Next is the medieval theater. During the medieval era, theater performances were not allowed throughout the Europe. To keep the theater alive, minstrels, though denounced by the church, performed in the markets, public places, and festivals. They traveled from one town to another as puppeteers, jugglers, storytellers, dancers, singers, and other theatrical arts. Churches in Europe started staging their own theater performances during the Easter Sundays with biblical stories and events. Over the centuries, the plays revolved around the biblical themes from the story of the creation of the Last Judgment. Fourth, the theater of Renaissance. Public theaters were developed like the Commedia dell'arte, or the Italian comedy and humorous theatrical presentation performed by professional players who traveled in troops, and the elaborate mask, a dramatic entertainment consisting of pantomime, dancing, dialogue, and song, and sometimes players wore masks that were usually presented in the court. One of the most prominent supporters of the theater was Queen Elizabeth I, the famous actor and poet who emerged in this period was William Shakespeare. He was an English poet, playwright, and actor, and regarded as the greatest writer and dramatist in the whole world. Some of the plays of William Shakespeare were well loved, like Romeo and Juliet, Julius Caesar, and the 4 tragedies considered to be Shakespeare's greatest work were Hamlet, Othello, King Lear, and Macbeth. Take a look to the picture. It is where William Shakespeare introduces and plays his play, and we call it Shakespeare Globe. Or, in the first place, it is called the Elizabethan stage. And for the first time in Renaissance period, the ballet was performed in public during this period. Ballet is a formalized form of dance which originated from Latin Italian Renaissance court. It developed and flourished from Italy to France with the help of Catherine de' Medici, or the Queen of the France. We have here also a place for a theater or stage started in the Renaissance period, and it is called the proscenium. Next is the theater of Baroque. The theater of Baroque period is marked by the use of technology in current Broadways or commercial plays. The theater crew uses machines for special effects and scene changes which may be changed in matter of seconds with the use of ropes and pulleys. This technology affected the content of the performed pieces, practicing as it does the Deus ex machina, or the Latin word meaning God from the machine. The use of theatrical technologies in Baroque period was seen in the films Vatel 2000, Farinelli 1999, and in different stage productions of Orpheus by Claudio Monteverdi. Also, a picture of theater in the period of Baroque that were built is the Theater Regio in Turin. And, of course, and been renovated or built a new theatrical place, but also in Baroque period vibe. The sixth is the Neoclassical Theater. During the Neoclassical period, the theater was characterized by its grandiosity. Costumes and sceneries were highly elaborated. The main concepts of plays were to entertain and to teach lessons. Stages were restyled with dramatic arcs to highlight the scenes. Multiple entry points on the stage were evident in many places. Lighting and sound effects intensified the mood and the message of each scene, enhancing the dramatic experience. We have here the 18th century Neoclassical Theater in Ostankino, Moscow, and also another Neoclassical Theater, the La Scala Opera in Milan. The concept of decorum must apply in this period, which means classical concepts and appropriate social behavior must be observed. As you can see, audiences is everywhere and have been noticed them easily, as well as they watch and observe the play easily and accordingly. This period officially established just two types of plays, the tragedy and the comedy. They never mix these together, and the restriction lead to the use of the now well-known pair of happy and sad masks. That symbolizes the theatrical arts. Tragedies portray the complex, faithful lives of the upper classes and royals, while comedies which were either public discourse or comedies of manners tended to focus to the lower ranks of society. Pierre Corneille, 1606 to 1684, was often called the father of the French tragedy, writing scripts for more than 4 decades. Trivia about the Neoclassical Theater. The first spotlight was the use in US during this period and was called the lamplight. And the last is the Romantic Theater. During Romantic period, melodrama and operas became the most popular theatrical forms. Melodramatic can be also described as dramatic work that puts character in a lot of danger in order to appeal to the emotions, and which orchestral music or song was used to accompany the action. Opera, in the other hand, is an art form in which singers and musicians perform a dramatic work combining text and musical score. Then, such as acting, scenery, and costume, and dance were important elements of theater in the Romantic period. We have here Victor Marie Hugo, was considered one of the greatest and best-known French writers. He was a poet, novelist, and dramatist of the Romantic period. Among his works stand out all over the world, like Les Miserables and Notre Dame de Paris, which is known as the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Okay, now my grade 9 students, you have known the Western classical plays opera and the history of theatrical forms and their evolution. But let's have an overview to our topic. A theater of ancient Greece consisted of 3 types of drama: the tragedy, comedy, and the satire. The usual themes for Roman theater plays were chariots, gladiators, and public executions. To keep the medieval theater alive, minstrels performed in markets, public places, and festivals. For the Renaissance era, the public theaters, or what we call the Commedia dell'arte, an Italian comedy and a humorous performed by professional players who traveled in troops, and the elaborate mass, a dramatic entertainment that were usually presented in the court. And for the Baroque period, the theater is smart using technology, using ropes and pulleys in current Broadway's commercial plays. And for the neoclassical period, during this theater was characterized by grandiosity, costumes, and sceneries were highly elaborated. And the stages were styled and dramatic arches to highlight the scenes. The lightning and sounds effects intensified the moods and the message. And for the Romantic period, we have here the melodrama and the operas became the most popular theatrical forms. Now, let's go to our activity again. You want have more? Okay. Without further ado, I will flash a picture, a different theater, play, or the theater stage, and a playwrights, and I will let you identify what era of the theater it is and it was. Again, I will flash a picture, and after 5 seconds countdown, you will now state your answer. Okay, number 1 picture. Okay, correct. It is the Greek theater. For the number 2. Is the Roman theater. And number 3. And it is for the neoclassical period or neoclassical theater. For the number 4 picture, correct again. The picture, it is from the Romantic theater or Romantic era. And for the last picture, what is it? Yes, again and again and again. It is from the Renaissance theater or the Renaissance period. And now, for your assignment, watch and analyze the movie or theatrical play entitled Romeo and Juliet, original playwright by William Shakespeare, and answer the following guide questions. Number 1, what type of plays were established? Number 2, what is the message of the movie? Number 3, what did you like the best about the movie? Number 4, what part of story told by the movie was the most powerful and why? And the last question, if you had a chance to ask the screenwriter a question, what would it be? And that's your assignment.